Hey, welcome back, guys. Long time no see, right? I even didn't change my outfit. So big thing we're trying to get accomplished in this is to kind of get you a 10-minute short rundown flip explaining the summer assignment, exactly what is going to be due by you by the first days of school, etc., etc., etc. So just kind of give you an update on what's going on, all right? So let's go ahead and take 2 seconds and we'll move through this entire thing by section, all right? So what we're going to be doing is going through the sections much like they are listed right here, kind of just taking a minute or two to talk about each of them and really kind of dive a little bit deeper so you understand exactly what's expected of you out of all these. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first section that we're going to talk about is the flips, all right, which are just starting to be posted now. And I know some of you are like, it's July 3rd, what the heck? Well, because let's be honest, a lot of us don't start our summer assignments until usually around July 4th, when we have about a month and a week left of summer break, right? And I kind of wanted to just take a step back for a little bit, give you time to focus on the maps and the summer reading and the art analysis like research and things like that. But let's go ahead and talk about any little kitschy things with these flips, all right? So this that we're doing right now is a flip that is not required. You don't necessarily have to do it, but if you want some extra explanation, you can. Remember, flips that are labeled with a number are going to be the ones that are for content for classes you need to take very well documented notes with, and then the ones that are just titled means it's just more of an explanatory flip or something like that. So flips, total of about 4 or 5. Now, when I say total of about 4 or 5, I mean 4 or 5 content flips. And then a couple, like I said, be on the lookout for some informative ones. This is one of those informative ones, right? Now, usually your flips are not 35 minutes long. Flips typically on a nightly basis during the school year run about 25 minutes tops, all right, if I'm like running behind. And that's usually about as big as they get. Okay, so the big thing about these summer flips, though, is it's kind of setting that foundation so the second you show up to class, we can springboard off and jump straight into it, okay? So going with that, though, just a heads up, yes, we are going to be taking an informative assessment based on the content that is going to be coming out of these when you get to class your first day. Because it is important for me to make sure that you know where we are, where we're going, understanding what the heck is going on, and going forward with that. But as you can see, long before COVID-19, I've been doing this for a long time, all right? So flips have been a part of my teaching repertoire for over 5 years, all right? So going into it, flips are made to deliver you content, right, via my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is listed right here. Okay, so if you want to click on that, go ahead and subscribe. That is where I post them, okay? I'm going to post your summer assignment flips to Google Classroom, but during the actual school year, I will not be posting them to Google Classroom all the time because it's just, I have 3 preps, and if I forget to post one to Google Classroom, it's still game on YouTube, all right? YouTube is where they will be. If it's not on YouTube, you can email me, ask me where it might be, and that's where it's going to be, all right? So, but the easiest thing, these flips will be sent out via Google Classroom for the summer assignment, not during the regular school year. The easiest thing to do is subscribe, use your phone, and subscribe to my YouTube link right there. Flips are made so you can take thorough notes. A couple habits to avoid while taking flips are all listed right here as well, which are very, very important. Pausing or skipping ahead. Don't do that, all right? So if you pause or skip ahead because you are getting lazy, you're going to miss major, major pieces of information. For example, like this one, is the idea of who gets to appoint bishops. Is it the popes or kings, right? So that little explanation of the investiture crisis, talking about how kings wanted to appoint bishops to try and pull power away from popes and how popes wanted to approve those bishops to try and pull power away from kings, is a very important concept that is going to lead into the 30 Years' War and the Reformation period and all these other nuts and bolts and kind of power struggles throughout Europe. And if you don't take time to listen for that, that's a very important thing. You need that concept. And just because it's not written down there for you doesn't necessarily mean it's not important. This creates huge problems because now students only know 30% of the material, all right? Now, speaking of that other stuff, muting. Ugh. Dirty, rotten muters, all right? Muters are the most disgusting thing for a flipped classroom ever. Some students in the past have tried muting my flips and then just kind of writing things down on the screen as they pop up to see what's going on. Now, this, okay, will work against you because some students in the past have tried this, and they only end up learning a fraction of the information, and they only end up getting a little bit of it, and it ends up leading to them having really low test scores, little to no conceptual understanding of what's going on, and kind of leads you to not being able to discuss concepts in class or actually really engage in conversation or really understand what's going on. So that's a big no-no. Don't mute. Muting is the worst thing you can do, along with skipping ahead. Also, biggest problem that ends up giving you no knowledge of information whatsoever is copying someone else's flip, all right? So you will be tempted with your Chromebook to get a quick copy of someone else's. Oh, hey, send me, share your flip notes with me, and I'm going to make a copy of those, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, don't do that, because if I give you a pop quiz or a quick assessment one day in class, you're not going to know any of it, and it's going to end up leading you to failing that assignment, okay? So those are just little things you don't want to do. And like I said, remember, flips are not typically 30 minutes long like they are during the summertime. They were long during COVID, but that was mainly just to cover ground, and we were just working with no in-class time itself. So they're usually only 20 to 25 minutes in the actual school year, maybe a little longer on the weekend, but not like these summer assignment ones are just a little bit longer. So let's take 2 seconds, and we're going to jump into our second section, all right? All right, so the next section that we're moving into now is the maps, right? So the maps are extremely important for you to actually do and study a little bit, not a ton, okay? You don't necessarily need to know exactly where every little thing is throughout Europe. But the big important things for you to know is kind of the general outline and the scope of Europe, right? What countries does it include modern day? What are the major cities? Because those will be referenced all the time. I will be saying, oh, Berlin, or I'll be talking about Paris, or I'll say, Budapest, right? Like when I talk about Hungary and certain things. You need to know where those things are located, or at least just have a simple reference map that you can jump to in your notes and be like, okay, that's where that is, all right? So it's very important. And also, bodies of water and mountains are very important. And the reason why I say you don't necessarily need to study these super, super hard, the study of these maps will help you analyze the shifting dynamic of the European people. Because it's very important to understand generally where everything is. Like if you don't understand where France is, you can't understand how the relations on their shared border going into World War II with Germany really affected the outcomes of those massive global conflicts. You also need to understand that Germany didn't exist for most of European history. Up until 1871, Germany wasn't even a thing. It was called the Holy Roman Empire, as referenced in this last flip. And that's a really big deal. Deutschland gab es nicht, right? So that means in German, Germany didn't exist. All right. So anyway, so 1871, that's crazy. But to give you reference ideas, you're going to need to be able to look back in your notes, see that map that you completed by your own 2 hands, and be able to move forward, right? Big things about doing the maps. Make sure you're thorough and neat, and use color when needed if you feel like you need to. Provide a key if necessary. It could make things a lot easier with a lot of small spaces. DMaps is a great resource if you're looking for a blank map or a reference map. Cetera Online is a great map resource that actually creates games that you can play to actually study the map of Europe and know where every single thing is. I know where Slovenia is. I'm just saying. All right, so, and that's because of Cetera Online. Beware of map quizzes too, right? Every now and again, if I give you a new map that you might have to study or whatever, beware of a map quiz. It may pop up. I'm not going to do it randomly without giving you warning because maps are a little bit different from content quizzes. Content quizzes can come without warning. Map quizzes, I'll usually give you a little bit of a heads up. You may complete the maps in an entirely digital space if you want to using a PDF editor. I've seen students use DocHubs and other PDF editing sites, okay? So that's the maps, right? It's very important for you to understand the maps and understand kind of the general geography of modern-day Europe so we can understand going forward how things look different and changed over time, all right? So let's take 2 seconds. We'll talk about the next section, the most important one, all right? All right, welcome back to the third section of your summer assignment. The big one, the Haas one, right? The one that is basically the bulk of the entire assignment, right? So, because let's be honest, the maps are cake, right? It's just 3 maps, right? 3 maps? Yeah, 3? 1, 2, 3 maps, right? So it's 3 maps. The flips are cake, right? The flips are going to be ranging from anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. There's only going to be 4 or 5 of them, though. And all you got to really do is just kind of listen to them, take notes, study the notes and the material. It's easy. You'll be doing that all the time during the regular school year. This is the beefy one. it's the big one. This is the hoss of the summer assignment, right? Reading the book Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling by Ross King, which I have loved every time I have read it. It is amazing, and it's not that long, actually. It's only about 300 pages, pretty short, but it's nonfiction, so it does take a little bit more reading dexterity, right? You're going to want to, like, kind of commit to it a little bit more often because you're kind of going to slow down because it's nonfiction, because it's not like, oh, and then Harry Potter showed up with a wand. All right, it's not any of that stuff. It's a little more dense, all right? So you need to be prepared for that. And when you're reading this, almost lost my computer. When you're reading this, do not flip out about the minute details. The biggest thing I want you to know is that my love for this book is ridiculous. All right, it's absolutely ridiculous. Out of all the supplementary materials that I've given you through this little summer assignment period so far, this is my favorite one. Okay, don't get me wrong, I love maps. Right, be prepared for map quiz sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I love art, love it. But, oh, this book is phenomenal. And like just the detail used in it, talking about like throwing like different, oh, so good. But anyway, one of my favorite stories actually, this entire thing happens to be the addition to the School of Athens, which is a really cool thing. You'll see it. I think it's like chapter 22. So anyway, but going into it though, it's a very, very good book written by Ross King. Okay, it is a very well-renowned, phenomenal nonfiction book, and it talks specifically about one crucial piece of art from the Renaissance period, which is, of course, the very first unit, as my computer tries to run away again, very first unit that we talk about in this class, right, the Renaissance period. And that piece of artwork, of course, is this one. And as you see it slowly scape across the entire thing, the Sistine Chapel ceiling is something that, like, makes people weep when they see it. It is a phenomenally amazing piece of art, and it also has one panel of it happens to be the most physically reproduced piece of art that the world has ever seen, which is the creation of Adam. These two guys. So that is a very, very, not these two guys as in like me, these two guys as in the fingers. All right, so now that, as in the cover of the book, happens to be the most reproduced piece of art in the world, and it's coming out of Europe during the 1500s, right, the early 1500s. So anyway, there's a couple of little resources there that you can use to buy the book. Amazon, Barnes & Noble. I got mine from Barnes & Noble because I'm not a big Amazon guy sometimes, because sometimes they'll send you the abridged version, so be careful with that. Now, before going any further, though, the most important thing to understand is that you're now going to use this book. I don't do reading journals, okay? This is not English. This is history. You're supposed to be able to read that book and learn some stuff, okay? That's the important part. And I will know if you read it versus people who haven't read it. We're going to be having like a little like Kahoot assessment thing. You'll see. All right, so like when we get there the first day of class, they'll be able to kind of give me an understanding of how much you really grabbed on and gravitated towards the material. And it'll be a lot of fun. I'm really, really excited about it. Now, the biggest thing about it, though, is that serves as one of your pieces of information for a 5-paragraph essay that you have to write. Okay? That is the bulk of this summer assignment, right? That essay. Because you have to write that 5-paragraph essay about the book, Ross King's Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling, talking specifically about the composition, the art, the politics, and all the things that went into making that monumental piece of artwork. You then, in another paragraph, have to talk about an artwork that you're being assigned. All right? So, yeah, that's right. You have to do your own research, right? I know it's scary, and I know it's intimidating, but look, I need to see you write. I need to see it so I can see what you're good at, what you're not so good at, things like that. So the way this whole thing will work, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, is kind of like the grading structure. And that's the biggest thing you need to not worry about, okay? Now, while reading the text, you're going to be also researching another piece of art. So you're reading the book itself, Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling, and then in tandem with that book, you're researching another piece of artwork, okay? Now, I don't need you to know this on Ross King level depth. He's a historian. He literally takes primary resources, pieces of physical evidence, and he interprets off of that a narrative. I don't need you to do that, but I do need you to do research on another piece of art, right? And we have 17 artworks listed here for the 17 students we have in class, and every single one of you has already been assigned one, right? So your first big body paragraph in the essay that you'll be writing is about Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling, the book, talking specifically about the book itself, all right? The content of the book, the Sistine Chapel ceiling, how it was made, why it's an example of Renaissance artwork, right? And then your second long body paragraph will be an informative paragraph about the artwork that you've been assigned, right? So, for example, Malaya has the Primavera by Sandro Botticelli, which has an amazing, amazing composition. It's absolutely huge. It's like really, really gigantic. And it's actually read from right to left, which is a little odd for a lot of people to actually like incorporate themselves, but it's got the muses in it and Mercury, possibly Apollo, we don't really know, or it might be Aries. He's like chasing away the clouds over on the left-hand side. These things are important to know. You need to know about your artwork, okay? You need to research your artwork using things like YouTube, Khan Academy. I'm fine with you using Wikipedia as long as the information is referenced in that article. A lot of teachers disagree with that. I think it's kind of ridiculous that the demonization of Wikipedia that's happened, most of it's actually referenced. So if it's referenced and you find that there's a paragraph or a section that says, oh, in the Arnold Feedy portrait by Jan van Eyck, Lauren Gross did this research on Wikipedia and saw that the composition is done like this. And if there's a little number next to that information in the Wikipedia article, just click the little number. It'll take you to the reference at the bottom, and then you can actually go to the direct reference site. Like, you can even do it that way. Use Wikipedia as a way to find more legitimate resources, right? So you're going to do research on this piece of artwork that you've been assigned. So your second body paragraph in your 5-paragraph essay is going to be about that piece of artwork and how it's a great example of Renaissance artwork, okay? So we got an introduction, body paragraph about Ross King's Michelangelo and the Pope's ceiling, talking about why the Sistine Chapel is such a good piece of Renaissance artwork. Second body paragraph about the artwork you've been assigned after you've done a good amount of research on it. And I mean like a legit. I want you to be an expert on this because remember, at any moment during our presentations, you're going to be asked to hop up and talk about your piece of artwork because it's very, very important. All right, so about 4 to 5 minutes, right? So it's huge. Like media, artists, patronage, if you can find it. Patronage means who's paid for it, okay? Details about the composition, as in why it was made, what symbols reside in the piece, what does it look the way that it does, demonstration of expertise, as in did this artist pioneer new trends like vanishing points, symbols, techniques, interesting facts about the composition, or maybe some backstory behind the artists themselves, right? Now, I will be posting an example flip on the most overrated piece of artwork tomorrow, kind of just giving you some examples of the ins and outs of like how much you need to know about a piece of Renaissance artwork that you've been assigned, okay? Now, after you have read the book and completed your art research, you're going to be constructing a 5-paragraph comparison-style LEQ, which is a long essay question. These are present on the AP test, right? So here's the crazy part. It's then been outlined down here. To evaluate, here is the following prompt. Evaluate the extent to which the Sistine Chapel ceiling by Michelangelo and your assigned artwork demonstrate the period of economic, social, and intellectual growth of the Renaissance period. Why do those two pieces of art symbolize the growth out of the Middle Ages, right? Which the first couple of flips are all about the Middle Ages to show you that kind of meandering barbarian walking around in the mist. We don't know what the heck is going on after the fall of Western Rome. So in your outline is right here, your introduction and thesis. Use background, useful background concerning the origins of the Renaissance, humanism, include key details, buzzwords, Petrarch, Cicero, printing press, stuff like that. Which will come up in the later flips. Body paragraph 1, the Sistine Chapel ceiling. Body paragraph 2, your assigned artwork. Body paragraph 3, demonstrate an understanding by comparing and contrasting these two artworks. And then just your conclusion, where you restate your thesis and you close out the essay. If you turn into me a quality, notice I use the word quality essay, that is about your artwork, this book, and you comparing and contrasting those two things together, you get 100 as a quiz grade out the gate day 1. All right, not including the double quiz grade you get for the entirety of the summer assignment being completed. Okay, so that's a huge deal. Okay, that is a huge deal, very big deal. I don't think I can emphasize how big of a deal that is, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be good. I'm going to give you 100 for just doing it, because what are they going to do on the AP test? They're going to take your writing, grade it, and give it back to you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that writing that you hand me as a writing sample. I'm going to see what you're good at, what you're not so good at, and how I can help you along the way get better at writing in the AP historical manner that the College Board wants to see, so we can get 5s instead of 4s on that AP test, right? That's a big deal. So this mainly serves as a writing exercise, just so I can see what you can do versus what you struggle at a little bit, and then I can kind of understand who do I really need to help, who do I not have to worry about as much. What about Daphne? What can Daphne do better, right? Like, so it gives me a chance to look at those things. Okay, so that is the big chunk of the summer assignment, the major bulk, you need to dedicate some time to that. It's going to take a long time to get that thing done, so please be started on it already. All right, so now we're going to take a second, and then we're going to jump over to the fourth part of this entire thing. All right, so down here at the last one, the fourth and final phase of your summer assignment, which might not even exist. All right, Albert.io practice questions, okay? So the Albert.io is a third-party website that I'm sure that you've used before in any of your other classes, which is basically a practice AP service that Chappelle invests in, okay? So periodically, most likely 2 to 3 times, if at all, if I never post an Albert.io set of questions, just count yourself lucky and just be kind of like, yay, but I'll send out an email letting you know if I decide to or not to. But they're just like small little practice assessments. Each practice set will range from about 3 or 4 questions. These are going to help you understand what a stimulus-based multiple choice question looks like, because that's what they're using on the AP test. I might wait and do this the first day we come back to school. I don't know. This is like the last little cherry on top to the summer assignment. It might happen, it might not. So really, honestly, don't worry about it too much, because it will be posted to Google Classroom if you need to do it, okay? So, however, if you're demonstrating poor performance, I'll probably start bringing you in on those if I decide to do them later. But just know Albert.io practice questions are going to be a concurrent thing throughout the entire school year, so we can get ready for the stimulus-style AP multiple choice questions. Cool? Sound good? All right. And yeah, and so after that, I'm going to end up doing a short little flip talking about like the actual structure of the test, okay? So go ahead and head on over to my YouTube channel. Make sure you just go ahead and subscribe so you can understand what everything's going on, where everything's coming from, stuff like that. And there are your first couple flips. And over the next couple days, your last flips will probably be all uploaded by the end of next week, all right? So you can have just the most amount of time you want to work on everything, okay? Biggest thing I would say you need to have done by today is at least start reading this, okay? And start doing your artwork research. It's very, very important, okay? But I'll talk to you guys later. Glad y'all came and hung out, so I'll see y'all then.